Nice. Yeah, so I'm Aidan and I'm from the Spatial Acoustics and Immersive Audio SIG. And I run that with Lorenzo and Filippo. Lorenzo and me are from Imperial and Filippo is from Southampton University. So we're quite a new SIG. We only started this year, so we're not quite sure what everyone else is working on, but I'll try and give you a bit of a flavor of what we're working on and what we know quite a few people are working on. And maybe it'll encourage a few more people from the other SIGs to join up to our SIG. So one of the big questions that we need to think about in immersive audio is, what is 3D audio? It sounds quite elusive, but actually it's just the audio that we hear in daily life. So you can imagine sort of this soundscape in nature. Some sounds will come from above you, below you, from the left, from the right. Some are far away, some are close, some are moving, some are static. And you obviously have lots of different environments. So this is one in nature, but you also have sort of urban environments in cities. And the real question is how can we simulate this? So how can we sort of experience this immersive 3D audio? Because normally when we listen to recordings, we just have stereo recordings, which is a left and a right channel, which is highly limited, especially if you listen to headphones. It normally sounds like the sound is coming from inside your head rather than from around you. So one way is to just have lots and lots of speakers that you put in a nice sphere around you, and then you can play sound from all different directions. You can pick a particular azimuth, a particular elevation, play the sound, it'll sound like it's coming from that direction. This is a fictional example, but these exist, these rigs, and they do sound quite cool if you sit inside them. The problem with this is it's very expensive and no one's going to have this set up in their living room. So is there a better way to simulate this immersive audio experience? And the real question is, do we need all these loudspeakers? And the answer is no, not really, because when you think about it, we only actually have two ears, we only have two sensors. So how can we create the sound we need at those two sensors to give you this 3D audio experience? And that's where binaural recordings come in. So a binaural recording is just, we record the sound where we're going to listen to the sound. So you can imagine if you listen to the sound with some earbuds at the start of your ear canal, we just need to record the sound from the same location. And we normally do this using a dummy head. So you can imagine a situation where you have sort of an orchestra, you put the dummy head in the center, and if you listen back to the recording, it will sound like you're listening to it in that particular space. And it will sound much better than just a stereo recording. These dummy heads are actually really expensive. There's lots of different versions. They can range from, up to tens of thousands of pounds. So you can actually just make your own with a barber's head and it works extremely well. Now, this is really limited, right? Because when you record a recording, you can no longer change anything. So it's recorded in a particular environment, the sources are static, the listener is static in a particular direction that they're looking, and you can't change any of that. Now, you could make lots and lots of recordings and interpolate between them, but is there a better way that we can synthesize these recordings? And that brings us to binaural synthesis, which works with head-related impulse responses or head-related transfer functions. On the left at the bottom, that's the rig we have at Imperial. And what we do is we just play sine sweeps from different elevations and different azimuths, angles, and we get the impulse response from that particular direction to your two ear canals, or the start of your two ear canals. And now we have the impulse response that we can convolve that with any sound source that we like. So we just need to pick our elevation, pick our azimuth, and convolve it with the particular impulse response, and it will sound like the sound is coming from that direction. Now, there's lots of problems with this. The main one being is everyone's ears are slightly different. So that brings us to individual HRTFs, so individual head-related transfer functions. You can imagine that your pinna or your ear is slightly different shape, so you hear sounds slightly differently. So one of the big questions is, do we even need to individualize HRTFs? It's very time intensive. It takes us about an hour to record people's HRTFs and take some measurements here at Imperial, so it's a very costly process. And can we get away with just using a dummy head or a different way of simulating them? Other problems that exist are things like reverberation and trying to incorporate that into recordings, and also tracking. Like if you've got an environment and you move your head, the sound source is going to move with your head. So you need to be able to track your head and move the sound source correctly so the sound source remains in the same place where you want it. This is obviously just one area that the SIG is interested in, which is this sort of red area of binaural recordings and sort of HRTFs. But you can see that the SIG has a wide variety of different people that are working on different things. This is an exercise we sent out via email a few months ago. And you can see that there's some people doing sort of localization. There's some people working on sort of things like speaker diarization using spatial acoustics. So we have a wide variety, but yeah, we're looking forward to being a bit more active now we've got up and running. And yeah, I hope more of you can join if any of these sort of topics interest you. Yeah, thank you for listening.